Well, hey there, everybody. A little different project this time. I recently was given some different tools by a good friend of mine, and many axes and shovels and rakes and whatnot. So this one right here interested me. For one thing, it's a Ames shovel, FSS #1. Now, my understanding about FSS, that's Forest Service Supply, and that doesn't necessarily mean the Forest Service made this or whatever. They just have a certain set of standards that tools that they use have to meet. And so these companies build these tools, and then they are approved by the Forest Service, and then they are stamped as such, Forest Service Supply. I know a little bit about shovels, not too much about Forest Service products, but or tools that they use. But I spent the better part of 20 plus years digging with a shovel on pretty much a daily basis. So there are difference between a spade and a shovel and different things. Now, back when I used to do a lot of digging, I preferred a True Temper #2. Has the right angle on it, and it is not a spade. It is actually a shovel, and there are differences. One thing is the angle of this shank here, how it comes to the shovel head, the width. And one thing that's very important, if you're digging a ditch or you're working with a shovel, these little bent over cleats right here, you can get them with them, without them, bent towards the front, bent towards the back. And I'll tell you, if you are a digger and you need production out of your shovel, you want them bent in. For one thing, without it, you're constantly wearing out your boots. It's constantly cutting the bottom of your boots, and you're just going to wear your work boots out. This gives it a little bit of surface there, so it's not cutting your boot. It's turned in rather than out. I prefer it in, so when you're digging with a shovel and you come down, this is not sticking out the back and catching on roots and debris and things like that. Because if you're digging a lot of dirt, you want every shovelful to count. And so my experience is that when they turn back, you're constantly grabbing hold of a root or something like that, and you're dumping your shovel over. So just a little tip: if you're going to dig with a shovel and work with a shovel, these are the things you want. Now, this is a #1. I prefer a #2 for actual digging. This is one that I'm going to put together for my truck, to have on board my truck for this summer when we're out and about. It's required where I live that you have a shovel, you have an axe, you have a fire extinguisher, water, things of that nature. So if you do come across a fire or something, you are required to lend hand until somebody that fights fire for a living, the Forest Service or what have you, hot shots or whatever, come in to fight that fire. You are required to jump on and put out fires. So anyway, a couple of things I like about this shovel: it's a well-built, heavy-duty shovel made by a very reputable company. These are turned in. One thing that I understand why they probably did this is they've reinforced the back of this. And one thing, they probably thought it was necessary, but I don't. I've dug many years with one shovel. I probably only replaced my shovel once every 2 to 3 years, so they're tough to wear out. And I'll show you my shovel. I still have the last shovel I had when I worked with it. But this patch right here, that reinforcement little gusset they put on the back, it encloses the bottom part of the shovel, and I can only see that trapping moisture, creating a problem for rust and corrosion to happen down within an area that you can't reach to clean out. With that said, there is a piece of a handle that they have put down into the shank of this thing right here, and it's cut off smooth right here. It's still in wonderful condition. It's very hard because I have already removed the upper portion of the shovel where it was broke, and so this was down in there, and it butts up against this. This wood is in pretty good shape right there. It's really good shape there. Good shovel. Gonna clean it up. Very worth cleaning up. Now when I took this handle out, and I'm going to spare you all this work because it's noisy and stuff, there's a split right down the back. I used a little coal chisel just to use it as a wedge, to kind of wedge that. I used a long 3/8 paddle bit, and I drilled a series of holes down through the wood in here. I used this little coal chisel to spread this little screwdriver here to spread it, and I just put it in there and twisted it and slightly opened it up. Reached in there with my needle nose pliers, give it a wiggle, and it comes right out. Now I've replaced a lot of handles and shovels over the years. They're not all that easy, but that's how I did this one, and basically that's how you should do every shovel. Is, you know, take your time, you'll get it. You don't want to beat on this stuff because, well, I'll talk about that more. The more you damage the surface of the shovel where you're going to be handling it and stuff, you're getting blisters, you're cutting yourself. You know, people put bolts through here and stuff. Tell you what, I grab, when I dig, my hands are down here a lot of the time, you know, and if you got a bolt sticking out there, use the rivet. Get a rivet, use the rivet that comes with the handle, use that. And so anyway, we're going to clean this thing up. I'm not going to show a lot of that. I'm just going to show you progress as we go along. I did buy a new handle. This is from House Handle. It's where I get a lot of my axe handles and stuff, and I do have a distributor that carries these here in town, so I'm able to kind of pick and choose and find the handles I want. So I'm going to treat this just as an axe handle. Going to sand all this finish on there off that they have on there. Going to use boiled linseed oil. Going to put this thing together right. So step 2 is going to clean this up. Going to measure the handle for how far it goes in there, cut it, and reprofile a few things. The other thing is just like hafting an axe. You know, the better, nice, snug fit that you get in here, the better off you are. You don't want any play in here because your handle's just going to not work correctly. Your shovel's not going to work. It's going to break. So a nice snug fit, rivet, that's what you want to do. So anyway, stick around. I'll show you the progress on this as we go. Alright, well, got most of the paint and rust off, and looks like we're dealing with a pretty good piece of steel here. So I don't know what kind of paint they use, but I wish I had like 10 gallons of it because I'd coat everything. Some good paint, man. Anyway, looks like we got a good shovel. Tell you the truth, I don't think it was used much. There is just not any wear and tear on this thing. Probably rode around in the back of a service truck. They got out to use it once and broke the handle in it because it sat back there and got wet and rotted on them. So anyway, good shovel. Got that much done. Gloves, little cotton mask, glasses, my little grinder with a wire wheel on it. Did the trick. Alright, on to the next. Okay, well, I've trimmed the excess part of the handle off and shaped it, and I run this home, and it came right down just very snug, tight, right against that existing portion of the handle that still remains down here. Very happy with the fit. Very little customizing of this that I had to do, and so we're successful on that so far. So I want to show you something. You know, when you put the handle on, and I just slip it on there and then turn it over on end and bang it on the floor. Don't bang it on the concrete floor. Bang it on a piece of wood, a piece of soft wood. And the reason being is because when you're done with this, you don't want a big old bunch of damage done to the end of the handle that's where your hand goes when you're digging back there. And when it's all frayed or got sharp edges on it, you don't want to have that, because you'll end up with blisters on your hands. You know, it's going to tear your hands up. So just be careful when you do that. Set a piece of block, you know, a block of wood down on the floor, and just tap it on there, you know. The other thing I did is right in here, I took my hammer and I just slightly banged this over a little bit. It had some sharp edges on it. You can take a file, but it fits very nice. I'm very happy with the fit. So that's how far we are right now. Stick around. Okay, another thing I want to point out is the rivet that goes through the shovel here, through the handle, you know, it's a little bit smaller than the hole in the shovel. You don't want to just start boring a hole that fits the steel here, but you want to find a bit that is the same size as the rivet. That way, when you peen this rivet, it's not traveling around in there, and it doesn't give it any room to bend in the center. So you want a snug fit here, and the way I do that is I just take a center on this and I punch me a center mark so I can center my drill in it. Oh, darn it, better tighten up my vise. Ugh. Find the center, get me a little center hole there. So when I put my drill in, it's going to drill halfway through. I'll do the same thing to the other side, and we'll meet in the middle. So stick around. Alright, repeat the process on the other side. There we go. Alright, now the rivet's going to fit in there nice and snug, and it's not going to travel around. I've drilled these too big, and the rivet wants to bend in the middle while you're trying to peen it over on the other side. So you want a nice snug fit in the wood, not in the steel. Alright. Alright. Looking good. Okay, when you peen this rivet, you want this right down tight against an anvil or whatever kind of hard steel you have to make a solid surface, and make sure it's perfectly in contact when you're striking this. I'm just going to peen it over. You just keep working on it like that. I'm going to spare you the noise, but and you just keep working it around and around and around. Peen that over, and I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, I'm not done yet, but I thought this was important. And you know, you need a nice little ball peen hammer, mechanic's hammer, and very useful. And when you do this, you need to take your time. If you just start pounding on this thing, you're just gonna bend the rivet in here. You're not going to end up with enough out here to flare it over. So what I do is I make some small taps in the center of this to stretch the steel, and you know, excuse the noise, but here we go. Then I use the flat side of this doesn't take a lot of force, because that is a soft piece of steel, but if you go at it too fast, you're going to crack it, you're going to lose it. So basically what you're trying to do is the same thing that is happening over here. It's not going to be as pretty and as perfect, but it beats a nut and a bolt going through here, you know, that your hand isn't happy with. So if you take your time and you peen this over correctly, you can take a file and smooth it, you know, and you can end up with a very comfortable spot on this shovel. And so this is the way I do it. Excuse the noise, but this is how I do it. Stretch it. Peen it. Anyway, not done yet. Got to go down tight, but just take your time at it and you'll end up with a perfect professional job. So that's the way you do it. Take your time. All right, pretty happy with that. Just hold it down tight and that kind of thing. And there's nothing there to snag you or anything. It's not quite as pretty as this side, but you know, it's held in there fast. And next thing is there's a little brad that goes in here, and I didn't get one. I don't know why. Probably because this handle wasn't specifically made for this specific shovel. But anyway, center punch it. I'm going to put a little screw on there and round it over. So this shovel's about complete. Alright, well, I'm not going to put a screw in that. I'm going to put a brad in there, and found one. Nice. Stick around. Sorry for the noise. That's how it works. Alright. Well, I guess I got a coat of linseed oil on this. Sanded off the original finish on this handle. And got a coat of linseed oil on it. The next thing I want to do is put an edge on this shovel. Stick around. Alright, well, that's a properly hung shovel. I've had a lot of experience doing this, and there's no sharp edges to catch you when you're digging. You want to take care of these edges if there's anything sharp, you know, and peen them over or sand them over. Take a file, round them over. But that's the last thing you want when you're digging, is just wear and tear on your hands. Even when you wear gloves, man, you'll wear right through your gloves. So it's important that they're smooth surfaces, and you know, if you're going to work with a shovel, it's got to be hung on there properly, and it's all good to go. Going to put an edge on this thing, and this is going to take a little different edge because a firefighting shovel is sharpened clear up. They do a lot of scooping and throwing dirt when there's not a lot of trench digging, but you know, some, but they do a lot of scooping, and so it's kind of a knife action, you know. On a trenching shovel, you only want it sharpened to about here. On a firefighting shovel, it can come clear up to here. So I'm going to sharpen this all the way up and show you what that's like. Stick around. Alright, well, you know, the best way to do it is with a file. And, you know, take nice, long, even strokes with this thing. But, you know, like I said earlier, this shovel has not been used. And it's not sharp, but it's got a good bevel on it. So, I have one of these. And I love this little thing because in no time at all I can put an edge on a shovel you know, on a lot of tools I use, but very easy. So just like that. So I'm going to put the edge on this thing. Oh yeah. You know, it's not a knife, it's a shovel. Doing great. Okay, well, got a nice edge on this thing, and I hope this was helpful. You know, I don't know a whole bunch, but I do know about digging, I know about shovels, and that shovel right there is probably going to last me the rest of my life, because good quality shovel, good hickory handle, put together properly. You know, it's just a good shovel, and just going to be a good shovel to take out in the woods, to use around the house or whatever. I hope this was helpful. Just remember, use the rivet, take away all the sharp points on it that's going to tear up your hands. Don't beat the handle on the floor, and you know, look for this good old steel. All right, thanks for sticking around. Over and out. I just remembered I was going to show you the shovel I retired with when I retired digging. You know, that's not broke, that's wore out. I used to dig so much this thing looked like stainless steel, and you know, that's just part of it. But I still use this shovel to this day. I just can't get rid of it. It works so well. But look at that, just wore it out. I've wore a lot of them out. That new shovel I just built is going to last a lifetime, I'm going to tell you. So anyway, over and out.